locations around Britain today to mark the 73rd birthday of our National Health Service and to demand fair pay for NHS workers. It's an absolute disgrace that the government has relied on NHS workers through the pandemic to bring us through safely through the pandemic. NHS workers who provide the care that have looked after our community are being kicked in the teeth by this government by being imposed and in effect pay cuts. So they're demanding quite rightly pay justice now. And that's why we're marching today. And we're also sending a message against the privatisation of our health service. At the last election, it was warned that if Johnson got in, he would privatise our NHS. And that is exactly what is continuing to happen. GP surgeries sold off. We've seen the shambles of what the private sector has done with test and trace. £37 billion pumped into coffers of private companies to run the test and trace system, which should have been run by public servants, by our public sector, and by our local authorities. We need to save our NHS, and that's why we're protesting today. We're going to be marching off now, and we're saying, save.
Hi, Anthony. Can you tell us a bit about what's going on with you in Leeds?
Can I tell you a bit about what? Sorry.
Can you tell us a bit on the live stream about what's going on in Leeds today, about your protest?
Sorry, people keep trying to talk to me. Yeah, I think at the moment we've got a steel band in the background. I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't. It's just there. So, and we've also wedding here because obviously we'll be rapping. But yeah, it's been quite good actually. We've got obviously organisation from like as well represented here to say that we are going to fight and support the NHS. And we've obviously gone and been protesting, obviously, to get a 15% pay rise, which has just been really good and positive. So yeah, it's been good. Katie Heppenstall and you members here with me at the moment.
Great, not too rainy.
It's good for me.
Got people all over demonstrating. I'm going to go to now in Chesterfield.
1% won't pay the rent. 1% won't pay the rent.
Hi Matt, can you tell us a bit about how it's going with you and what you're doing
Morning,
today?
everybody. Yes, of course I can. It is very wet in Chesterfield, but it's not put us off. There's about 50 of us here. So yeah, good turnout. We're chanting all the way round. We just can't let this government do what they want to with the National Health Service. We know they're trying to privatise it. So we're putting our foot down and saying no. The NHS should remain public, and we all have the freedom to be healthy. And with a privatised National Health Service, I just think it will marginalise those that are currently, in poverty at the minute, and the poor health. So keep our NHS public. That's what we need to do, and we need to value the staff that work in it. It's a demanding job. It's a difficult job, but we know over the last 10 years with austerity, we've lost about 20% of pay, and that's not recruiting or retaining staff, and that impacts on patient safety, and that is something we won't accept. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Got a sore throat already.
Great, thanks Matt. Going to go over to Leah in Essex now, who's speaking.
On social distancing and health and safety precautions, to the best of my knowledge, and we have a real expert here in the shape of Tony from the Thurrock bin workers, who had many a lecture from the local police about COVID precautions. So we are outdoors, so we don't need masks. It is safe. But in the town and during the rally, then if we try and maintain some kind of social distancing for appearances, because our opponents, and they are out there, we don't meet many of them in the general public, but up in the political establishment, we have our opponents, and they will try and make whatever they can out of any slips that we do make. So that's the first thing. So, having got that out of the way, thanks ever so much for everyone who's come from all corners of the county, from the health service, from outside the health service as well, because we all know how important this issue is. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to ask Leah, the powerhouse, Leah Sparks of this whole campaign in Essex at least, to come on and give a few words, introduce the proceedings, and to stream live on Facebook. That's a thing apparently. Oh. So this is, be enthusiastic because this is going out to the world. Leah.
Thank you. So, hi everyone. Whether you're an NHS worker, supporter or patient, I really appreciate you turning up here today. This just goes to show the depth of support there is for a 15% pay rise. The NHS Pay 15 campaign was formed back in July last year when NHS workers were excluded from the public sector pay increase. Understandably, this caused a tremendous amount of anger amongst NHS workers who felt undervalued and demoralised, given that we had been at the forefront tackling the pandemic, keeping our communities safe and kept this country going. Since then, organisations such as Nurses United have supported activists like myself to organise marches, bridge demos and online rallies with a huge focus on having as many conversations as possible with colleagues, supporters, family and friends to raise awareness and build power amongst the workers to fight for a restorative pay rise. Many are actually unaware that NHS workers have lost 20% of their pay over the last 10 years. So whilst the cost of living is going up, our salaries are not. Shame. It's therefore no wonder why we have over 100,000 vacancies within the NHS. Our pay is directly linked to the recruitment and retention crisis we are facing. Lots of staff are either retiring early, considering leaving the NHS after this horrendous last year, or even leaving the NHS for better paid work, as financially it's just not doable anymore. This puts patients at risk. Unfortunately, I found myself in a situation 3 years ago where I became a single parent, and the responsibility of paying the mortgage and bills fell to me and me alone. So naturally, on a part-time salary, working within the NHS, I could barely provide for my boys. I worked some bank shifts at the weekends to try and earn some extra money, but inevitably that meant I was then not spending any quality time with my sons. I received help from my mum and dad, and I claimed for universal credit, things I never imagined I would end up having to do, or ever foresaw happening to me. I appreciate I'm not unique, and there are many others likely in the same position, struggling financially. And really, in this day and age, as one of the richest countries in the world, no one should be living in poverty, and everyone deserves to be paid a fair wage for the job that they do to ensure that they can actually afford to live. If we do not see a fair restorative pay rise for all NHS workers, we are at risk of losing experienced, highly skilled workers from the profession, which will result in an increasing amount of unsafe staffing ratios, compromising patient care and safety. I'm an RCN steward and I'm also on the Eastern Board. I took on these roles so that I could make change happen, but we need so many more of our frontline workers to take on these roles. We are the union. They exist because when we work together, we can win big. It's how we even have our NHS, from working together for what's best for all of us. And I think after this last year, we can all see how important that solidarity is. Yeah. So attend your branch meetings, start having conversations with your colleagues, map out your workplaces and get involved. You need to ensure that you are having your voices heard on the issues that matter to you. Your union staff cannot contact you if they don't have your correct address, number, email or workplace, so update your details. This is such a crucial time and you need to be in the know with what is happening. It is also particularly important should our union's leadership send out ballots for industrial action. We need over 50% of people to vote in favour so that it's successful. We need as many workers supporting the campaign and prepared to take action so that we can keep not only our patients safe but ourselves. Also, please make sure that you share your contact details with us today, with Chris and Jackie, so that we're able to keep in contact with you. Whether you feel strongly about safer staffing, putting an end to privatisation, or being paid a wage that reflects your skills, knowledge and responsibilities, each and every one of you must stand up to champion what it is that you want. I cannot win this for you, and we will be much stronger together.
I'd like to introduce Colin, who to go from someone who's been central to this campaign from inside the health service. I'd like to introduce Colin, who's not a health service worker, but has been doing tremendous work supporting the morale of the workers who have carried so much during this year and a bit and running of COVID. So over to you, Colin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So we meet again. I just want to thank you for this opportunity of speaking to you all. So I'm not here to make a political statement, but I'm here to support and encourage you. See, this is not about other countries getting substantial pay rises. This is not about lorry drivers getting double their pay because there's a shortage in their workforce. But what this is about you getting rewarded for your love, for your commitment and your dedication over the past 18 months. Getting this country through those dark days.
Yeah.
I want the government to recognise your value and your worth to the local community and to this country, and also a leading light in the world in rolling out the vaccinations. As you know, I'm a Christian and I worship and serve a God of love. But you know what? He's also a God of justice, and which is another reason why I'm here. So this is my prayer, that you will all be rewarded. It is not only a good thing to do, it's actually the right thing to do. Yes. To finish, if there is anybody that's having financial difficulties, then please speak to me afterwards, and I will direct you towards an organisation called CAP, Christians Against Poverty, who can really help you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot, Colin. Bringing a bit of solidarity from the really big battalions there. We're going to set off in a minute. We're going to march down to Basildon Town Centre. I'll give you an idea of the route, which is just down the hill. And we're going to try and march through the town centre square so we pick up some public support in the town. I know it's plenty full out there. But what I would say is all the people in the yellow jackets, they're our stewards. They're not a strong arm bunch. They're very polite and nice. But just take their guidance as to the route, as to spacing and so on. We're going to travel on the pavement by and large, and we're going to be going over a pedestrian footbridge. So there will be places where we will be crowded together a little bit and make sure that we're a little bit spaced out. I see a question.
If anyone can't make the bridge, will there be stewards available to help them across the...
We've come a long, long way together through the hard times and good. I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like she should. I have
Thanks if you're watching our live stream. As you can see, we've got people around the country demonstrating. I'm going to add in Anthony in Liverpool. Anthony?
And our nurses and carers are well paid, and we capital the home first. I beg to wear with me. Sorry, guys, just going to say very briefly something before we have the music.
Hi, that's loud enough, it's really hard to tell. Is that loud enough? So I work in the NHS, like 1.2 million people in this country. So we're here to talk about the 50% pay rise. But really for me, that's only one issue amongst a whole load of other things. Issues around staff.
Shout and jump up. I don't know whether you want to chant. Does anybody want to chant? I've got one here. Says, what do we want? A pay rise. When do we want it now? Shall we give that a try?
Yeah.
A pay rise. When do we want it?
No.
What do we want?
A pay rise.
When do we want it?
No.
Enough is enough.
Woo. Oh, I freed up my voice. And we've got a steel band going, peeps. And we've got Katie Heppenstall.
What to post it.
And now as these services resume, we are facing huge influx of critically unwell patients following the impact this pandemic has had on long-term illnesses and chronic diseases. But what does this have to do with pay? The NHS pay campaign has been ongoing for a year now since NHS workers were excluded from the public sector pay increase. Yet again, this government continues to degrade and demoralise the very broken staff of the healthcare sector. Already as a profession, we've faced over 10 years of austerity, up to real-time pay cuts of 20%, and that's something that cannot be allowed to continue. Inflation is expected to rise yet again this year, and yet another real-time pay cut that we are yet to face. Personally, I simply cannot afford my basic monthly cost of living without picking up nearly weekly bank shifts as extra cash to allow me to comfortably pay bills, enjoy the simple pleasures in life, and to save for a wedding which has been postponed like so many others. But that means sacrificing valuable time with my fiance, who I hardly see as a result. This shadows in comparison to friends I have that struggle on a daily basis, having to choose between fuel for the car to travel to work and their lunch that day. To see colleagues utilising food banks to feed their families is heartbreaking. Why should healthcare workers be facing such financial instability in what this government claims to be a fully developed and flourishing country? And equally, the same goes for a lot of the general population. We as a population should not be living in poverty due to this government's incompetence, and enough is enough. To be told there isn't enough money to support a truly restorative pay rise, frankly, is a lie. For this government to have the audacity to claim there is not enough money to fund a remunerative pay rise after their very public financial blunders over the last year is an absolute joke. But let's say there isn't enough money. Well, evidence shows that the government could gain back at least 80% of the monies required for a pay rise for healthcare sectors in the year following. And the risk that they have by not adequately paying healthcare workers far outweighs the benefits of the current societal problems. It has a direct impact on patient safety and providing harm-free care, and that is not something I'm willing to sit by and allow happen. So what are the next steps? Get action. Unions hold a lot of power independently and collectively, but we have no power without the membership. You are the union. You make the demands and dictate what action we take. Attend your branch meetings, get in contact with local reps in the regional office. Activism isn't just about being on the picket line or publicly vocal. It could be as simple as having a conversation with colleagues and shift. Have you heard about the pay campaign? Make sure details are up to date. Any day we expect the pay review body offer to drop, and unions will be consulting members about their next steps, with the potential to ballot for industrial action. And if that's where we're heading, we'll go there. Yeah. We need to be able to contact you to ballot, to allow us to fight and defend our rights to a restorative pay rise. I'll finish by saying we are a safety critical workforce, and it is time this government finally prioritised the patient safety in the NHS in this country. We demand to be heard. We demand to be recognised for the skill, knowledge and experience we have and the sacrifices we've faced during this pandemic. We demand fair pay for nursing. Thank you.
This is because we are not valued. We are not valued by the Tories. And it's not only that the people who work in the NHS aren't valued, the Tories do not value the NHS. They have never supported the NHS. Anyone who thinks that they can be relied on to defend it, to stop the underfunding, then you're completely mistaken. The Tories opposed it from the start, they continue to oppose it, and they continue to plan for its demise. So this is a crisis. It's a crisis that's been caused by continual underfunding, the move from public to private provision of healthcare. And then, so what's the Tories' response to this crisis? What do you think they're going to do? Well, we've seen what they're going to do. They are continuing the destruction of the health system and moving to their systems of integrated care of health. They are continuing with their cuts. Only this week, they have announced further cuts. In the prescriptions aren't going to be free to people over 60. That's the next of their cuts. What are they doing over NHS pay? They tell us that all they can do is make a pay rise of 1%. That's their offer so far. No! They tell us that they can't afford any more than that. They tell us that they can't afford the 15% pay increase that we've been asking for. So is it true? Is it true that we cannot afford a 15% pay increase? Is it true that the furlough system, the paying for COVID, it's all too much, and that our society can't afford to fund a decent pay rise and a properly funded NHS? Well, let's just have a look. What are the figures? Over the last year, the British billionaires have increased their wealth by £106 billion to £597 billion. They have increased their wealth to that much. So let's be absolutely clear, there is no lack of money. There is no lack of funds to pay for a pay increase. We can definitely afford it. And we can definitely afford to fund a publicly funded healthcare system. But the Tories aren't going to do it, are they? What's going to happen? So what do we need to do? We need to organise against this. And as other speakers have said, those of us who work in healthcare have to join a union. We have to convince our colleagues to join a union. And when the union put out the offer that the Tories are going to make to ballot, we have to convince people to vote against the offer and to vote for industrial action. I just wanted to say, I know that many of you here today are trade unionists, and I've been active in the trade unions for a long time, and I've been committed to the NHS for a long time. But it is an absolute disgrace that the leadership of our unions are not organising to put people on the streets every week in support of a decent pay claim and in defence of the NHS. We need to be calling on the union leaderships to unite in this dispute. All of us, regardless of what union we're in, need to be working together. In the workplaces, we need joint committees to work together and convince our colleagues to join the union. Nationally, the union leaderships need to stop bickering and pull themselves together and organise a united fight to defend our pay. They have been absolutely woefully quiet in this dispute, in the offers being made to us, in the attacks on us over the last year and before that. So our movement needs to begin to stand up. But I want to say something else, right? Which is, we need to take strength and hope from the fights that have been fought by others, right? We might look around us and think, there aren't that many people here together. How can we possibly win? We need to remember that it's when small numbers of people start to fight, they inspire others. We need to look at those who have fought and won and take inspiration from that. There has been fights in France. Last year, the health workers organised action. They won a massive pay increase because they organised industrial action. But there's also been action closer to home that we should take inspiration from. The bars with workers at Rolls-Royce organised a dispute over the weeks. They organised ongoing strike action, and they won and they defended their jobs. We should take hope from those sort of campaigns and build on that sort of action. We should remember in this up-and-coming dispute that if one of the small unions votes for industrial action, then we can all support that action. We can join that strike action. Woo! Small unions, whether that be one of the small NHS unions, whether it's the NHS or maybe Unison or maybe the RCN, if just one of those unions vote for strike action, we need to all support that strike. We can all join the union that takes that action and we can build on that strike. We should think imaginatively about how we win this dispute. We need to be convincing people of those tactics already. Right, so that we need to take hope and we need to remember the disputes that have been won in the past. They've come from small groups of workers beginning to take action. The final thing I just wanted to say was about the Labour Party. Right, the Labour movement fought for and won the NHS. We fought industrially, we fought politically in order to win the healthcare system that many of us have relied on throughout our lives. My question now, though, is to Starmer and the current leadership of the Labour Party, where are you now? Why have you been so quiet? Woo! Insult. Why have you not said that 15% pay rise for all health workers is absolutely affordable? And why have you not said, if we take industrial action, that you, in the leadership of the Labour Party, will back us in that strike? The Labour movement needs to be standing up to defend the NHS. And if the current leadership of the Labour Party cannot even abide by current Labour Party policy and stand against privatisation and for a publicly funded healthcare system, then they should move aside and make way for those who are prepared to fight for that and build a movement for it. Finally, I'd just like to say that I think from small groups of people and from small groups of workers build a movement. There are loads of people who are really angry and frustrated, and like Claire outlined before, there are so many people who feel like that. But it doesn't take much to ignite that and turn that round into anger and for it to become a movement that can actually win change. So it's time to say enough is enough. We need to build from where we are. We need to put pressure on the leadership of the trade union movement and the labour movement, and we can turn this round. So solidarity, and wish you well in the campaign.
Thanks, Elaine. I'd just like to introduce Tom. He's a supporter, dedicated supporter, much appreciated. Thanks, Tom.
Hello, this is Tom. I've been 30 years a supporter. 15 years of those I had no social pay. For 10 years I had no pay increase. So I think it's about time we had a little bit extra. Thank you.
Before I introduce Dave from the Banner Theatre Group, I just want to read out a solidarity message from Alan Gibson. He's unable to come today because he's self-isolating. He's a councillor for Warbrick and a council member for Socialist Health Association. I'll just read out his message of solidarity. The new Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, has been getting paid £1,500 an hour over the last year for his second job and his third job too. There is a magic money tree for the likes of Mr Javid, but not for NHS staff. While they toiled through the pandemic and we lost 1,500 of our colleagues and they died of coronavirus, private sector executives were circling around like vultures. There was no magic money tree, not for the NHS staff who had no PPE and had to wear bin bags. But there was for Serco, whose boss is Rupert Soames, was a brother to the Tory MP and grandson of Winston Churchill. There was for companies benefiting from £18 billion of contracts, and there was for Dido Harding, married to a Tory MP, John Penrose, who presided over a test and trace system that failed to make a measurable difference to the spread of the pandemic last year. There will be to private companies benefiting from the establishment of 42 integrated care systems as part of the government's white paper. That is why Alan and Tim Jeeves have tabled a motion to the City Council to oppose integrated care systems. We'd like to see what our new mayor's opinion is on that as well. So, pay NHS workers 15%, no to privatisation. We'd like to finish our section by introducing Dave Rogers from the Banner Theatre Company. He kindly made us a video yesterday to promote the rallies right across the country, and he's taken time out from his family holiday as well. So please give a warm socialist welcome to Dave Rogers.
Be with you in a minute. Can you hear me?